Today, we'll continue our study on a look at the Bible. We'll be in chapter 11 of Genesis, and we'll look at the Tower of Babel and the development of society after the flood. A look at the Bible, Part 9. Genesis 11, verses 1 and 2 tells us, "Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found the plains in Shinar and settled there. Verses 3 and 4 says, "They said to each other, 'Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly.' They used bricks instead of stone, and tar for mortar. Then they said, 'Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth.'" Verses 5 and 6 goes on to say, "But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, 'If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them.'" And in verse 7 we read, "Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other." Then verses 8 and 9 tells us, "So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth." Next, we find the descendants of Shem in verses 10 through 26. 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad. And after he became the father of Arphaxad, Shem lived 500 years and had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad had lived 35 years, he became the father of Shelah. And after he became the father of Shelah, Arphaxad lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he became the father of Eber. And after he became the father of Eber, Shelah lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber had lived 34 years, he became the father of Peleg. And after he became the father of Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he became the father of Reu. And after he became the father of Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and had other sons and daughters. When Reu had lived 32 years, he became the father of Serug. And after he became the father of Serug, Reu lived 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Serug had lived 30 years, he became the father of Nahor. And after he became the father of Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he became the father of Terah. And after he became the father of Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and had other sons and daughters. After Terah had lived 70 years, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran became the father of Lot. In verses 28 and 29, We see that Haran died in Ur of the Chaldees. Abram and Nahor both married. Abram married Sarai, and Nahor married Milcah, both daughters of Haran. Verse 30 tells us, now Sarai was childless because she was not able to conceive. Then in verses 31 and 32 we read, Terah took his son Abram and his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from Ur of Chaldees to go to Canaan. But when they got to Haran, they settled there. Terah lived 205 years, and he died in Haran. Let's take a short break and review how far we have come. The first 3 milestones are Genesis 1, the creation; Genesis 3, Adam and Eve's failure and sin entering mankind. Then in Genesis 4, we see Cain killing Abel. Next, we read about the generations from Adam to Jared in chapter 5 of Genesis, a total of 460 years from Adam to Jared. And from Jared to Noah was 596 years. If we add the time from Adam to Jared, that of 460 years, to the time of Jared to Noah, that of 596 years, and Noah to the flood, we get 1,656 years that had passed since Adam came on the scene. Then in chapter 11, verses 10 to 26, we get the generation of Shem to Terah, that of 220 years, 70 years to Abram, and 75 years to God's call of Abram. We find 365 years. When you add 1,656 with 365, we get a total of 2,021 years. Some Bible scholars set the date of Abram's calling at 2091 BC. The first 11 chapters of Genesis has given us 10 major events in the history of mankind. Next time, in chapter 12, we'll see how God sets into action his love, grace, and mercy to save mankind from their sins.